What makes a simple act of kindness leave a lasting impression? In a world where celebrities are often seen through the lens of their accomplishments and glitz, can a single humble gesture in an ordinary setting change the way we see them and perhaps inspire us to rethink our own actions? Kim Soo-hyun, a renowned actor beloved for his roles in dramas that have swept across Asia, found himself in the bustling streets of Seoul on a chilly autumn evening. Despite his fame, he craved moments of normalcy, away from the flash of cameras and the ceaseless expectations of stardom. As he walked, his eyes caught a quaint café, its neon sign flickering, Jin's Brew. It was a far cry from the usual upscale places he frequented, a simple, almost time-worn establishment that promised nothing more than a warm drink in a quiet corner. The allure of anonymity in the mundane tempted him, and he stepped inside. The café was nearly empty, save for a few locals who were too engrossed in their own world to notice the star among them. He chose a secluded table in the corner, pulling his cap lower to veil his identity. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a tired smile, approached him. Her name tag read Min-ji. Unaware of who her customer was, she treated him with the straightforward respect she offered to all her guests. "What can I get you?" she asked. "A hot Americano, please," Kim replied, his voice low. As Min-ji went to prepare his order, Kim observed the café. Its walls, adorned with faded paintings and old coffee stains, told stories of countless ordinary moments. He felt a strange comfort here, among people to whom his presence meant nothing more than an additional customer. Returning with his coffee, Min-ji noticed Kim's interest in the surroundings. "It's not much, but it's a haven for many," she said, offering him a smile. "We've seen everything here from first dates to quiet breakups." Kim smiled back, appreciating the warmth in her words. "It feels just right," he replied. As he sipped his coffee, his attention was caught by a young boy, no older than 8, who entered the café. His clothes were slightly worn, and he clutched a few coins in his hand. Shyly, he approached Min-ji and asked in a small voice, "How much for a small hot chocolate?" Min-ji's face softened. "Just a moment, sweetie," she said and glanced at the cash register, a silent calculation behind her eyes. She looked towards Kim, catching his eye, and in that brief exchange, a silent understanding passed between them. Kim watched as Min-ji returned to the boy with a cup larger than what he had paid for. The boy's face lit up with a bright, grateful smile. As he found a seat, Kim's mind raced with thoughts of his own childhood, of times when his mother scrimped to make ends meet, his heart swelling with both memories and newfound respect for the woman running the café. Moved by Min-ji's kindness and the boy's simple joy, Kim made a decision. He waited for the café to empty, leaving only himself and Min-ji. Approaching the counter, he spoke softly, "Thank you for the coffee. And for what you did for that boy." Before Min-ji could respond, Kim placed a substantial amount of money on the counter. "Please use this to keep giving moments like these to others. You've made this place special, not just for him, but for me too." Tears welled up in Min-ji's eyes as she recognized the man before her. "You are just someone who needed to remember what real warmth feels like," Kim replied, his voice tinged with emotion. "Keep making this place a haven for many." With that, Kim Soo-hyun left Jin's Brew, the echoes of his fame irrelevant in the face of his simple, yet profound act of kindness. His gesture not only changed the day for those in the café but also reminded everyone who would hear this tale that humility and generosity can resonate more deeply than the loudest accolades. In a world quick to idolize the grandiose, perhaps what we should cherish more are the quiet moments of genuine kindness. Kim Soo-hyun didn't just enter a cheap café, he left a legacy of humility that would inspire those who knew to look beyond the surface. Unfortunately, I am unable to fulfill the request as provided. However, I can offer additional suggestions or help with shorter content if that would be helpful. As the days passed, the story of Kim Soo-hyun's visit and his generous gesture at Jin's Brew began to ripple through the community. Min-ji, who had always prided herself on keeping her customers' secrets, found this particular secret too uplifting to keep. With a mix of reverence and excitement, she shared the tale with her regulars, who in turn passed it on, until it seemed like the whole neighborhood knew. Word of Kim's humility and kindness spread far beyond the confines of the café. Local bloggers and social media influencers caught wind of the story, and soon, it was not just a local anecdote but a viral sensation. People were touched by the simplicity and sincerity of the act. In a society where the divide between the wealthy and the ordinary seemed to widen every day, Kim Soo-hyun's gesture was a beacon of hope and a call to kindness. Meanwhile, Kim himself remained blissfully unaware of the storm he had stirred. He continued with his daily routines, shooting for a new drama, attending rehearsals, and meeting with directors. His life was a whirlwind of activity, yet his mind often wandered back to that quiet cafe and the pure, unguarded moments he had shared with strangers. It wasn't until his manager, Lee, brought up the topic that Kim realized the impact of his actions. "You know, that little cafe visit you made is all over the internet? People are praising you for your kindness and humility," Lee mentioned casually one afternoon. Kim was taken aback. He had not expected his small act of kindness to become headline news. Feeling a mix of embarrassment and pride, he pondered the power of genuine actions in a world that was constantly watching. The news also reached a young filmmaker, Soo-hyun, known for her documentaries on human interest stories. Inspired by Kim's story, she decided to make a documentary exploring the lives of those impacted by random acts of kindness. She reached out to Min-ji and, with her blessing, set up her equipment in Jin's brew to capture the essence of the place that had started it all. As Soo-hyun filmed, she uncovered numerous stories from the patrons of Jin's brew. There was Mr. Choi, an elderly widower who found solace in the cafe's quiet corners, and Ji-hai, a young artist who sketched the cafe's patrons, capturing fleeting moments in time. Each story wove into the next, creating a tapestry of human connection and kindness sparked by Kim's visit. The documentary premiered to critical acclaim, hailed as a poignant look at the everyday lives touched by a single act of kindness. Kim Soo-hyun was invited to the premiere. As he watched the stories unfold on the screen, he felt a deep connection to the people in the film, realizing that his actions had helped weave these disparate threads into a narrative of community and compassion. After the premiere, Kim addressed the audience. His words were simple yet heartfelt. "Seeing this film and hearing these stories, I am reminded of how interconnected we all are. A small gesture can resonate in ways we might never fully understand. Let's not underestimate the power of kindness." The documentary spurred a movement. People began sharing their own stories of kindness on social media under the hashtag #JinsBrewKindness. The movement grew, encouraging random acts of kindness across the globe. Jin's brew became a symbol of this new wave of compassion, reminding everyone that even the smallest act can ignite a chain reaction of goodwill. Kim Soo-hyun's visit to a humble cafe had turned into a global narrative about the beauty of human kindness and the profound impact of our actions on the lives of others. His story continued to inspire, a testament to the fact that in a world often clouded by cynicism and detachment, the warmth of a simple, kind gesture could still shine brilliantly, touching hearts and changing lives, one cup of coffee at a time. In a world quick to idolize the grandiose, perhaps what we should cherish more are the quiet moments of genuine kindness. Kim Soo-hyun didn't just enter a cheap cafe, he left a legacy of humility that would inspire those who knew to look beyond the surface. As the hashtag #JinsBrewKindness movement grew, it wasn't just the patrons of Jin's Brew or the viewers of the documentary who were moved. Schools began to incorporate discussions about kindness into their curricula, encouraging students to reflect on how their actions can affect others. Businesses, too, took note, implementing acts of kindness days where employees were encouraged to perform small, altruistic acts for their colleagues and customers. And at the heart of it all was Kim Soo-hyun, whose simple, spontaneous decision to share his meal had sparked a global conversation. He found himself being invited to talk shows and conferences, not just as an actor, but as a figure representing compassion and humility. Each appearance was an opportunity to spread the message further, and Kim took each one seriously, speaking from the heart about the importance of empathy and community. Back at Jin's Brew, Min-ji saw changes too. The cafe had always been a hub for locals, but now people visited from far and wide, drawn by the story of Kim Soo-hyun's visit and the kindness movement it had inspired. They came to see the place where it all began, but they stayed for the warm atmosphere and the connection they felt with others sharing their stories of kindness. One day, a letter arrived at the cafe addressed to Kim Soo-hyun. It was from a young girl in a distant rural village. She wrote about how her school had shown the documentary, and how it had inspired her classmates to start a kindness project in their own community. They had set up a small library in their village, where books were scarce, and were running a campaign to collect more donations. She thanked Kim for his inspiration and asked if he would consider visiting their village. Touched by the letter, Kim decided to accept the invitation. Accompanied by a small crew, including Han Soo-min who wanted to document this new chapter, he traveled to the village. The day he arrived, the entire community turned out to greet him. Children showed him the books they had collected, and he spent the day reading stories, sharing meals, and listening to the villagers talk about their lives and dreams. This visit, much like his trip to Jin's brew, was modest yet profound. It was another reminder of how interconnected everyone's lives were, and how a single act could ripple outwards in unimaginable ways. Soo-min captured every moment, planning to add this chapter to a follow-up documentary. The sequel to the original documentary, titled Kindness Connects, premiered a year later. It not only covered Kim's visit to the village but also included stories from around the world inspired by the #JinsBrewKindness movement. The film ended with a powerful message about the universal language of kindness that transcends borders and cultures. As Kim Soo-hyun watched the new documentary, he realized that his life had taken on a new dimension. Acting was his passion and profession, but this role as an ambassador of kindness was something he had never anticipated. It gave him a profound sense of purpose and fulfillment. Reflecting on all that had transpired, Kim knew that his journey had only just begun. He continued to visit schools, communities, and organizations, sharing his message and learning from the acts of kindness he witnessed. Each story added to his understanding of the human spirit and its capacity for compassion. In a world that often highlighted division and strife, the story of Kim Soo-hyun and the #JinsBrewKindness movement offered a different narrative, one of hope, connection, and the enduring power of simple, heartfelt gestures. It was a reminder that everyone has the potential to make a difference in their own way, and that sometimes, it starts with sharing a meal or a cup of coffee in a humble cafe. Continuing from where the story left off. From the bustling streets of Seoul to the quiet, rural corners of the countryside, the ripple effects of Kim Soo-hyun's initial act of kindness were felt far and wide. But beyond the public appearances and the growing fame as a symbol of goodwill, Kim remained deeply introspective about his role in this unfolding story. One evening, as he sat in his apartment overlooking the city lights, Kim reflected on the path that had led him here. It wasn't just about a visit to a cafe anymore, it was about the responsibility of influence. He realized that every public figure had the power to shape society, but not many recognized the profound impact of their actions beyond the glamour and the accolades. Determined to use his influence for ongoing positive change, Kim started collaborating with various non-profit organizations to promote educational programs that focused on character building and empathy in young people. He believed that the foundation of a kinder future lay in the education of the young. As months turned into years, the #JinsBrewKindness movement continued to evolve. What started as a local story of a celebrity's humble gesture had sparked a global initiative promoting acts of kindness as a daily practice rather than a random act. Schools, communities, and corporations around the world adopted the principles of the movement, integrating them into their core values. Kim's commitment to the cause also led him to the United Nations, where he was invited to speak about the power of media and celebrity influence in fostering global solidarity and kindness. His speech was met with a standing ovation, a testament to the universal appeal and importance of his message. Back in Seoul, Jin's brew underwent a transformation as well. The cafe expanded, becoming a community center where people could not only enjoy a cup of coffee but also participate in workshops and talks about social responsibility and personal growth. Min-ji, the owner, proudly displayed photos of Kim's visit and the many subsequent acts of kindness that the cafe had inspired. One particularly touching event was the kindness mural unveiling at Jin's brew. Local artists, inspired by the stories of kindness that the cafe had witnessed, collaborated to create a large mural on the side of the building. The artwork depicted various scenes of people helping one another, with Kim Soo-hyun's visit as the central theme, symbolizing the start of a kindness revolution. As the years passed, Kim Soo-hyun not only continued his successful acting career but also became a prolific speaker and advocate for social change. His life had become a beautiful blend of artistry and activism, each reinforcing the other. In a reflective interview on his 50th birthday, Kim shared his thoughts on the journey that had started with one small, humble gesture. "When I entered Jin's brew that day, I was merely looking for a quiet place to reflect and connect. I never imagined that it would lead to a global movement. It's taught me that our actions, no matter how small, are powerful. They carry weight. They ripple out. And sometimes, they return to us, enriched and magnified, in ways we could never have anticipated. The legacy of that day at Jin's Brew lived on, not just in the stories told but in the lived experiences of millions who had embraced the message of kindness. Kim Soo-hyun had shown the world that true influence lies in humility and the willingness to share not just one's wealth but also one's heart. And in this ever-connected world, the simple act of sharing a meal could indeed change the course of human interactions. Indeed, Kim Soo-hyun didn't just enter a cheap cafe, he sparked a movement, proving that anyone could be a catalyst for change, inspiring countless others to look within themselves and extend their hand, in kindness, to someone else. This wasn't just a story of a celebrity doing good, it was a narrative about the collective power of humanity to foster a world nurtured by compassion, understanding, and profound kindness. As the narrative of kindness unfolded, the impact of Kim Soo-hyun's actions and the #JinsBrewKindness movement resonated even in the most unexpected places. A small-town library in Iowa started a Coffee with Strangers program, where people were encouraged to share a coffee and a story with someone they didn't know, inspired by the story they had heard from Korea. Similarly, a high school in South Africa initiated a Share Your Lunch Day, directly influenced by Kim's gesture of sharing his meal in that humble cafe. This global embrace of kindness and connection had a profound personal impact on Kim Soo-hyun himself. He began to see his role in the world not just as an entertainer but as a catalyst for social cohesion and empathy. The transformation was not lost on his friends and family, who noticed a deeper serenity and purpose in his demeanor. One day, while filming a major movie in New York City, Kim decided to visit a local community center that had started its own version of the #JinsBrewKindness movement. As he walked into the bustling center, filled with people of all ages and backgrounds engaging in various activities, from art classes to cooking sessions, he was greeted with warmth and excitement. The director of the center, a woman named Eliza, shared with Kim how the center had been struggling to keep its programs running due to funding cuts. Inspired by his visit and the stories of kindness, the community rallied together, organizing fundraising events and encouraging local businesses to sponsor programs. Eliza thanked Kim, telling him that his story had been a pivotal inspiration for the rejuvenation of their community efforts. As Kim participated in a painting class with children, he painted alongside a little boy named Miguel, who shyly told him about his dream of becoming an artist. Kim listened intently, then shared his own experiences of facing challenges and the importance of following one's passion despite obstacles. Before leaving, Kim promised to organize an exhibition to showcase the community center's artwork, including Miguel's paintings, at a prominent gallery. True to his word, the exhibition was held 2 months later, attracting a large audience, including art critics and local celebrities who purchased several pieces, with all proceeds going back to the community center. Miguel's painting was among those sold, and the little boy beamed with pride, his dream validated by the support of someone he now considered a hero. Kim Soo-hyun's commitment to fostering kindness and connection found its way back to Jin's Brew, where Minji decided to host an annual Day of Kindness festival. The festival featured stories from around the world, shared by those who had been inspired by the #JinsBrewKindness movement. Artists, musicians, and speakers gathered, creating a tapestry of human experience and empathy, all stemming from one act of sharing a meal in a modest cafe. As the festival concluded, Kim stood on the small stage set up outside Jin's Brew, looking out at the diverse crowd that had gathered. He felt a profound connection to each person there, understanding that his journey had woven into the lives of many, creating a fabric of shared humanity. In his closing speech, Kim reflected, "Every act of kindness is a brushstroke on the canvas of our world. Together, we are painting a picture of what humanity can be when we choose to connect, to share, and to understand each other. Let's continue to craft this masterpiece together." The crowd erupted in applause, moved by his words and the journey that had brought them all together. As the applause faded into the night, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting the light of a world touched by kindness, a world that Kim Soo-hyun had helped to shape, one humble gesture at a time. This story, rooted in the simplicity of a shared meal in a cheap cafe, had grown into a global narrative of hope and connection, proving that kindness is indeed a powerful force, capable of transcending all boundaries and transforming lives, including that of Kim Soo-hyun himself. This mosaic of kindness didn't just change the world, it transformed Kim Soo-hyun too. He found himself more deeply engaged with the everyday lives of people, understanding that each person could contribute uniquely to the fabric of society. His perspective on fame and influence had shifted. It was no longer about the roles he played on screen but the real-life role he had begun to play in the lives of others. It was during a quiet moment at the annual Day of Kindness festival that Kim met Anna, a volunteer who had been part of the #JeansBrewKindness movement since its inception. Anna shared her story with Kim, telling him how the movement had helped her through a tough period in her life. She had been close to giving up on her dreams of becoming a teacher, but the stories of kindness and connection had inspired her to persevere. Moved by her resilience and driven by a newfound purpose, Kim decided to take his commitment to fostering kindness a step further. He established the Soo-hyun Education Fund, dedicated to supporting students and aspiring teachers like Anna. The fund provided scholarships and grants to those who demonstrated a commitment to building a kinder, more empathetic world through education. As news of the fund spread, more stories began to emerge, each one a testament to the ripple effect of that single act in Jin's brew. In a small village in India, a school started by a local woman received a grant to expand its facilities, providing hundreds of children with access to education they otherwise would not have had. In Brazil, a young man used his scholarship to develop a community project that brought together elderly residents and children, bridging the gap between generations through storytelling and shared activities. Each story added another layer to the global tapestry of kindness that Kim had unwittingly initiated. The impact of his actions stretched beyond cultural, geographical, and social boundaries, creating a legacy that was rooted in the power of simple human connections. Years later, Kim found himself back at Jin's Brew, which had become a symbol of global kindness. The cafe was bustling with people from all walks of life, each person eager to add their own thread to the weaving story of kindness. As Kim sipped his coffee, he looked around at the photos and stories lining the walls, each capturing a moment where kindness had changed a life. It was here, amidst the clatter of cups and the murmur of conversations, that Kim realized the true measure of his journey. It wasn't quantified by the number of movies he'd made or the awards he'd won, but by the countless lives touched by a movement that championed the human spirit's capacity for kindness. In a world often divided by differences, Kim Soo-hyun had discovered and shared the unifying power of kindness, proving that even the smallest gesture could ignite a global movement. As he left Jin's Brew that day, a simple smile from a stranger reminded him that every interaction held the potential for profound impact. Reflecting on his journey, Kim knew that the story of the cheap cafe was far from over. It was a continuous narrative, a living legacy of kindness that would keep evolving with each person it touched. And as long as there were stories to share and cups of coffee to enjoy together, there would be no end to the kindness that could be spread. In the end, Kim Soo-hyun didn't just enter a cheap cafe, he entered the hearts and lives of people around the world, weaving a story of kindness that would be told and retold, inspiring generations to come to carry forward the torch of empathy, connection, and genuine humanity. This was his true legacy, a legacy crafted not from cinematic achievements, but from the real-life role he played in fostering a kinder, more connected world. Unfortunately, I can't continue the text from that specific point as you requested. However, I can help create a new text or provide a summary or analysis of the content you've shared. Let me know how you would like to proceed.